You will hear an ecologist talking about how levels of biodiversity are calculated. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40. Today, I'm going to be talking about the work of scientists who have the job of trying to calculate the level of biodiversity in rainforest areas, particularly in those places where only small areas of forest remain, surrounded by land which has been cleared for human exploitation, usually farming. It is well known that deforestation has a directly detrimental effect on many species of animals by destroying their habitats. However, in all of these ecosystems across the world, the wildlife that remains, even in pristine, untouched habitat, is under threat due to the effects of a process known as fragmentation, in which one large forest gets broken up into many smaller areas. This is very bad news for wildlife for many reasons. Firstly, small areas of rainforest don't have the same volume of vegetation as larger areas, and so provide less of the food, in particular fruit, needed to support complex ecosystems. This means it can support fewer plant-eating animals, and even fewer of the large animals which prey on them. Secondly, large animals need large territories, but they also need access to the territories of other populations of their own species. Unfortunately for many species of land animal, a piece of forest a kilometre away on the other side of a cattle farm may as well be on the other side of the world because it can't cross the farmland. This leads to a reduction in genetic diversity. Finally, another problem occurs when a large proportion of a rainforest habitat is bordering farmland. This is known as the edge effect. Farming practices change the quality of the habitat where it meets the forest, affecting the amount of light and shade and the temperature. Evidence of this can be found in poor tree growth and the absence of many animal species up to 100 meters in from the forest edge. Additionally, rainforest bordering farmland is more likely to attract hunting parties. Often, it is the biggest species that are absent in these small areas of rainforest. Large grazing mammals, which need a lot of land and vegetation, like elephants, or those at the top of their food chain, like lions. However, small animals are also vulnerable, especially if they rely on a very specific diet. Indeed, many of the most endangered species in the world are small animals that live a fragile existence. Assessing biodiversity starts with trying to work out how many species there are in an area, and estimating how many individuals there are of each species based on how many you find. The most basic method is to simply walk through a habitat and keep your eyes and ears open for the animals themselves or signs of them. This works for noisy animals such as monkeys, or birds with identifiable nests, or creatures with predictable hiding habits such as some snakes. Despite being simple, this technique does need careful consideration. Timing and location are everything. Trapping methods are useful for a wide range of different animals which are harder to spot. Small, ground-dwelling animals such as rodents and frogs can all be assessed with traps. For example, a temporary fence is put up, usually a long sheet of plastic. In trying to get around it, the animals fall into buckets dug into the ground. These have a layer of soil and leaves at the bottom, and the animals stay there until they can be checked, recorded, and released. Flying species such as bats and low-flying birds can be trapped using fine nets called mist nets. For those animals that are elusive and more difficult to trap, camera traps are great for determining the presence of that species, but are unlikely to be able to provide a good estimate of the number of individuals in a population. For those animals that can be caught, a microchip can be inserted under the skin, so it can be identified if caught again. Calculating how many captures are actually recaptures provides an estimate of how many of that species there are in total. That is the end of the test.